This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting, apparently sponsored by Air Up. I'm joined down by Alexis today at London Street Fighters Gym. Alexis, I appreciate you having me down in the gym today. How's life been since the fight?
Yeah, good. Lots of other fights going on. But yeah, fights since the fight, just been training hard. Guys back in the gym, working, looking towards kind of all the next shows. I think we've got 9 more fights by the end of the year, and then we're done.
And then first, you have some New Year's fights as well?
Yeah, we've got a fight on I think our last fight booked in is the 29th of December. Czech Republic, yeah, big fight.
Do you have a month off then? A few weeks off?
No, there's no season. It just goes from fight camp to fight camp to fight camp. If we can get a couple of days off, that'll be great. But to be honest with you, everyone's, if you have like, let's say we've got 46 fighters in the gym, each one of them fight 3 times a year. You know what I mean? You're in fight camp constantly. Yeah, so it's rough.
Imagine. It's kind of like, well, I don't know how F1 has their season, how football has their season, boxing, combat sport doesn't have their season. It's all throughout the whole year. Yeah, I think it's very, very long.
If you do a season, then you just don't improve. Like the whole point of after you fight is you're supposed to obviously get that little rest and recovery in, but then you've got to improve on the mistakes that you've made, or just improve as an athlete, get stronger, get faster, get fitter. So the whole idea of taking too much time off, I'm not a big fan of seasons. Even as amateurs, I've got amateurs that are national level champions that, on the Olympic team, and they're like, the boxing season's over, we're coming back to you because we need to get fitter and stronger. So they don't even take the seasons.
Well, doesn't the amateur boxing season end in June and start in beginning of September? Or end of August?
Yeah, and anybody that takes that amount of time off will not get that podium spot. Like if you take that amount of time off from boxing, when you start when the season starts, you're going to be behind because none of these other kids are taking time off. Everyone's working their butt off. Yeah, so I don't believe in seasons when it comes to fighting.
No, well, no,
take
never.
The time off you need, but you know what I mean.
A week off after training camp, or a week and a half, depending on the injuries. You're one of the highest viewing people on the channel. The last on Fight Week I did 70 interviews. Your interview was the post-fight interview was the second highest viewed interview of the whole week. Oh, wow. The Sidemen only beat you. You did more views than Logan Paul. Okay. You're a big star now, Alexis, whether you know it, whether you like it or not.
I don't know about big star, but it's great that people are understanding that we're passionate about it, and that, from a coaching point of view, everyone's like, I'll go over it. Everyone was saying, oh, JJ stands no chance with Tommy Fury, impossible, no chance. And then we're arguing about whether or not he won the fight. and that's the irony that I find people, I know there's a lot of hate online, and I'm not privy to it. I don't read a lot of the stuff, but I get told, by the social media team what goes on. And for me, it's just like the turnaround, the props that JJ should have got for that. Yeah, let's say, I think he won, and so does a lot of other people, but let's say, we're arguing about whether or not he won or not. The fact that he took away Tommy Fury's jab, the fact that he hit him more than anyone else ever hit him, the fact that he's a YouTuber and that he's a singer and he's got he's got other work that he does, and he's not a full-time boxer. The fact that he's done that is just outstanding. And I think that's what people are attracted to. I think that's what people like. The fact that JJ's personality is huge, but he backs it up with his talk, which is pretty impressive. So all these coaches are like, he stands no chance. Oh, Tommy had a shit day. Well, no, you can only have the kind of day that the guy lets you have in front of you. JJ worked really hard, followed the plan really, really well, and put Tommy off of every punch he could do. So I think, I think on that note, I think the reason why, maybe, we're kind of, people are intrigued about what we're doing as well, which is why they're viewing it, because they're intrigued that we're actually doing something a little bit different to try and, if we went down the generic route like every other coach, if I'm going to get JJ behind his jab, Tommy would have killed us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these other coaches that talk about, you need to learn basic boxing. Yeah, I know, but Tommy's done that his whole life. What you can't generically fight somebody who's done it better than you, who has better attributes than you, who's been coached for longer than you, and think that you're going to beat him in that one area. That doesn't make sense to us.
It's like if you follow their route and you go at their same pace, you'll be the exact amount of time behind them. But if you go off on another route, then you'll catch up to them a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I just think we're at a place now where, I think we'll go into the Ngannou fight in a minute with Tyson Fury, but with JJ, we have to have a fast route to be able to fight these boxers and give ourselves the best chance of winning. And that definitely isn't going down the consistent, normal boxing route for these guys. I have boxers that are Olympians, that are world champions, that go down that route, and I'm happy to coach that route. But you can't coach JJ that route for Tommy Fury. You coach him that route against Jake Paul, but not against Tommy Fury. They're different fights and different fighters, and styles make different fights. I think it's unfortunate. I actually think Tommy did a really good job of not getting hit, like as much as he should have got hit.
Like moving his head in the clinch.
Yeah, besides the, I mean, there was a lot of illegal blows that were going on. I thought he did a good job of not getting hit as much as we could have hit him, but we still hit him quite a lot, and still find the mark, and still landed more power shots, and still had control of when the combat was going to happen. Because a lot of the time you need a jab to control the round and the rhythm, right? Someone gets behind the jab and they find their hand. But if you can't find your jab, then how can you find your rhythm? Then you step into a punch and then we try and get you. We're initiating that impact. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're moving around, but we initiated the shots, which is interesting because when you're scoring criteria, you're looking at damage, which is what we did, and you're looking at control, which is what we did, and you're looking at inside work, which is definitely what we did. So, and the referee didn't try and break the fight. So he must have thought there was work going on to a certain extent. So, it's interesting.
Yeah. Did you talk to the referee in the changing room saying, if there's ever a clinch, please don't break it up? Like, you look back at the Mayer Hatton fight and you think, if the ref had let Hatton work more on the clinch, he might be more successful. Was there any conversation about in the changing room before it?
Interestingly, there were, and they're all recorded in the rules meetings. And we said, how do you feel about back of the head shots? Like, is that going to be something? It's a 6-round fight. Like, and he goes, I do not tolerate them. We're like, cool. So we're going to make sure we stick our head in a place where we're not going to get hit when we're safe. So if I come in to hit you and I get a couple of great shots off, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want you to hit me. I just put my chin on your shoulder.
But no one ever tolerates back of the head shots, do they? Is that a silly question for the referee to ask?
Well, I think the reason why you ask these sort of questions are that you want to remind him that we're thinking about them and that you're on it. I actually thought that Tommy would do that because he's done it in every fight. And they're relatively dirty. With all due respect, I mean, before I go into how I think their fights, first of all, I think John Fury's done a great thing with Tommy and with Tyson. They're both great men. They're good people. They're good guys. They're good men. And he's done a great job raising them. When it comes to their fighting, I think they fight a bit dirty. I think there are definitely back of the head shots. I think there are definitely elbows flying around. Did you see the Ngannou elbow? And that's a crazy elbow.
Was it better than KSI's elbow?
I mean, should I take
I'm joking, Alexis. Oh, I sweated there.
I guess to an extent. But, we got massively critiqued for it, right?
Yeah.
But there wasn't one critique about that.
Yeah.
Imagine Ngannou did that elbow to Fury. The world would go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's a double standard going on. And I think they played on that really well. I think that's intelligent from them. Listen, the elbows happen in boxing all the time. Headbutts, things happen all the time. People step on each other's feet. You watch Tank fight. Like, everyone steps on each other's feet, and these things happen. They're part of combat. They're part of boxing. But I think to not speak about them is a travesty a little bit. You have to talk about them. But that's why when the referee came in, we mentioned about the back of the head, and we said, "What do you, he goes, if you're holding, I'm not tolerating. I will separate you unless you're punching. If you're punching with one arm, I'll let you go." And we're like, "Okay, cool." So it was already set in place. I just think that sometimes people don't want to get bullied by the crowd or bullied by corners, like with the referees and the officials. So they use some judgment, and sometimes there's some ego that gets in the way of it. I think, when you look back at it, you'll change your mind.
Has KSI been back in the gym since the fight?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen each other and we've gone over a few things, but again, there's a time, in my opinion, JJ needs to rest up because we had him in a fight camp for a long time, and he was sparring. I mean, the fight that you saw, compared to the spars that we had, was the easiest fight in the world. JJ didn't get hit at all in that fight. He's got not one mark on his face, on his body, like literally, on his face. Besides the back of his head, he didn't get hit anywhere else. So our sparring sessions were pay-per-view compared to that with high-level guys. So I think that for what we did, we've had to give him more time off.
In KSI didn't drop anyone at this camp in sparring just because how heavy everyone was.
Second?
KSI didn't drop anyone in sparring this time around in camp just because how heavy everyone was.
No, he dropped people.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Well, he went on impulsive like yesterday, and he said he didn't drop anyone.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the rules. We try not to talk about. We will never name names. But yeah, I mean, he took loads of guys out. I mean,
oh well, that's very humble, JJ, because Logan kind of pressed it on it. He went. I can't remember exactly what they said, so don't quote me on this. But he went. I think Logan was like, "Do you drop anyone in camp?" And KSI was like, "No." And Logan was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Oh, just everyone is just so much heavier than me." So he was dropping people then.
Well, I mean, yeah, the one thing I've got to say, and I don't know if JJ will say it, but he spars in 20-ounce gloves. He spars in 20s. He fights in 10s and spars in 20s.
I didn't know you can get 20-ounce gloves.
Yeah, they're made specially for him. He has to. He's a heavy hitter, and he punches like he's a super aggressive, fast, heavy hitter. So when you're sparring, it's not like, well, let's just do some light rounds. That doesn't happen in this gym. So there's always going to be someone that's going to get the wrong end of it. So everyone's wearing like metal bar headgear, 20-ounce gloves, and it's a proper fight. So. Yeah, he did all jokes aside, I've trained, like I said, WBC heavyweight champions of the world. I've trained, like, WBC cruiserweight champions of the world. Guys have won the heavyweight straps. I've trained Olympians. JJ can fight. He can actually fight. So there's a difference between boxing and fighting, and we've got.
Tommy had no answer.
Yeah, Tommy had no answer for us, not because he's not a good boxer, and not because he doesn't have the experience. We didn't let him, we shut him down. We shut his jab down, we shut his footwork down, we shut all of his power punches down, and we shut his inside game down. So if anyone's saying that, oh, even Tyson Fury said, oh, he hasn't got the experience. Well, didn't he have the experience with Ngannou? He said Tommy didn't have the experience to land a knockout punch on Jake Paul or KSI. What about him? Why doesn't he have the experience to land on Ngannou? I think you've got to give the other guy credit. I think people are discrediting people that are doing good jobs. And there is a lot of hate, and I get it, I understand the internet, I do get it. But JJ did a great job. And Ngannou's getting proper props right now, right? Like, he just arguably beat the best fighter on the planet, right?
The biggest sport upset in all time, everyone's saying.
But people are forgetting that Ngannou's a heavyweight champion of combat sport, right? JJ's a YouTuber. So you want to compare the fights. Ngannou did an unbelievably great job, right? He's a tough man and did a great job. And Fury maybe had a really bad night at the office as well. No credit. Ngannou won the fight, in my opinion, and that's how you have to score it. But JJ's fighting an undefeated Fury, and he comes from a YouTube background, not an undefeated combat champion of the UFC or whatever, and he beats a Fury, arguably, and people want to discredit it a little bit. And I find that a little bit like, pull up. That's I think he did a great job, not for us, but for him. He did almost the impossible, like Ngannou did. Coming into a sport you've never done before at that level and winning a fight like that is nuts. So I feel like Ngannou's probably got his props, but I don't know if JJ has. But I think a lot of people, I mean, realistically, everyone I speak to says JJ won the fight, and they all thought it was a great plan, but they also think Tommy Fury's not so good. But I think Tommy's actually all right. He's not a bad boxer. He isn't. Jake's got some of the best coaches in the world. JJ's got some of the best coaches, without arrogance, with some of the best coaches in the world. We're all being paid a lot of money to make these guys fight really, really well. So why wouldn't we give a guy like Tommy, who's only had 10 fights, a good fight? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think we're within it's within our reach to make these fights achievable. Obviously, there are some fights that aren't achievable. You know what I mean?
But better BFs.
Yeah, there are guys that we're not going to be mentioning because that's out of our food chain for JJ. I'm not saying that he couldn't. Do some rounds and have some work and have some fun.
What level do you think JJ can get up to? You got the area level, English level, British level, European, and the worlds. Where do you think he could the max to get to?
Listen, there's no doubt in my mind that if he was training from a kid, he could be a world champion. Now, he carries it. When you talk about fighters, you've got to carry things. You line fighters up with things. He has a good chin, as in he doesn't. He takes a shot really well. He's got big power, and he's crazy fit. I mean, those three traits are pretty good for a fighter. You know what I mean? So if you had JJ as a kid training, sure, there's nothing separates him from being a world champion except hard work. Like, he's proven that. Nothing will separate Ngannou from Tyson Fury except hard work, right? So we've proven that any human being can do anything. Obviously, there are levels, and you have to bit by bit it. You can't just go from here to here. That's the difference. There's no. I don't think there's I don't think there's a level for any of these kids. I think if I get a kid that walks into the gym and he's got heart and he's hungry and he trains, he can be a world champion. You don't need. There's nothing. It's great to have something special, but there's no need to have something special. Something special can be that you're a hard worker. That could be the something special. It doesn't have to be that you're talented, that you're fast, that you're strong. You don't have to have the good chin or the cardio. You don't have to have these attributes. You could actually just be a hard worker, and that's what every coach wants. Give me a hard worker over talent every day of the week. Every day of the week. In
any sport, I think that matters. Let's just switch positions, Alexis, so I can see the. This goes out every 10 minutes. My camera's been annoying. I need to buy a new one. This is 4K, so every 10 minutes it switches out. Do you guys have a meeting then as a team? You, Mams, Abs, your brother here, Marios. I get a lot of comments about Marios saying, "We want to hear Marios talk." So one day I get him. Have you guys had a meeting about what's next?
Yeah, I mean the only meeting from a fight perspective is the coaching staff that fight. Obviously, Mams is involved in Misfits and everything, but the only coaching meeting we have is with us and JJ, and we review tape, we review our performances, we critique ourselves, as in there's that comeback. Did we do something wrong?
Yeah.
So in round 5, I turn around, I look Eddie Hearn, head of Matchroom, I look at Joe Mikowski, head of DAZN, Adam Smith, head of Sky Sports. I'm like, are we up? They're like, yeah, 4-2, you're up. I'm like, cool, let's do the same thing.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat, the same thing. Try and kill him with a shot, get on the clinch, make sure we do some work, keep our head nice and safe so we're not getting hit with anything stupid. But rinse and repeat, because you have to be objective. I think we're winning the fight, but I have to ask if we're winning the fight. And when you get those kind of guys saying you're winning the fight, they're kind of they know boxing. From the head of Matchroom to Sky Sports to DAZN, like they're the head guys. So like you turn around to look at your bosses or your peers or your colleagues, and you're like, well, we up? What's going on? Like, and you got Nissa, Kala, Sauerland, like, you're up 100%. I'm like, then we're doing the same thing because I'm not going to risk JJ getting hurt or JJ getting knocked out to say, okay, bite down your mouth guard and let go. But then again, if we knew we were losing, 100% we'll try and kill him and go out on our shield. But we were 100% confident that we were up. So it's difficult because I always have self-critique myself. Should I have let him go as a coach?
Yeah.
But the truth is, no, I shouldn't have because we won the fight. So, obviously in hindsight now, I'd like to let him do what he try and go for the kill for sure. I mean, it's not about the crowd, it's about winning that fight. And we can't be governed by people. Otherwise, we'll always be a bit crazy and bloodthirsty and not do the right thing. But yeah, there's definitely self-reflection, critique. Did we do the right things? There's that conversation between us coaching staff and also with JJ as well. The one thing with JJ is, he come back and he was like, that was the easiest fight I've ever had in my life. Like, he did nothing to me. Like, the game plan worked perfectly. There was no jab, found his backhand. Nothing bad happened in that fight. It wasn't a dangerous moment for him in that fight. So, I think we did our job. I just feel that obviously what's going on now with the appeal and stuff, I hope they come up with the right decision. And they can review it from a punch statistic point of view,
The copy box stats.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of easy to review. I can't see how you'd lose on that kind of review. And also there's a lot of other things that goes on, a lot of the stuff that happened in that fight that I think obviously we can't talk about, but that's what the appeal's for.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be a while for the appeal. I believe the PBA put a tweet out saying, because everyone appealed in their fights, so I find it ridiculous. About half the fights appealed the fights. Personally, I only think it's KSI and Chase Tamor. They should appeal the fights. Apart from that, I don't think there's a need for it. But if you guys, do you reckon KSI will box again? Do you reckon he'll step back in there, maybe summertime, have a few months off?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a shame if he doesn't, but I'll be happy if he doesn't. We're not. The only thing I'm motivated by is by doing my job. I got a kid to do what he did. He didn't get hurt, and he won that fight, in my opinion. Obviously, we want to clear the board. There's a name that everyone wants us to fight, and obviously there is that fight that's huge with Jake Paul. It's only huge because of what's going on. I think stylistically, I think it's a really fun fight for the crowd because you've got guys that want to,
Well, it's the ego. It's the ego. The level, you can't really get a bigger ego when you've got the KSI and Jake Paul, the two biggest people on the planet, going at it.
Yeah, and I think
over a mil pay-per-view buys, it's massive.
Yeah, I think stylistically it's a huge fight as well. As in, like, you got guys that they're going to want to let their hands go. So that's quite a fun fight to be in.
Did you let KSI box how he did against Tommy Fury against Jake Paul, or is it a whole different KSI style?
It has to be completely different. Ultimately, you only box like that. I mean, JJ's never boxed like that before, right?
Yeah.
You've never seen him box like that before. But we had to do it to get rid of that jab. I know what gets rid of jabs. I've done this for a good part of 35 years. I know exactly what gets rid of that Olympic level, that high level jab. I know how to twitch it. I know where your foot play goes. I know he couldn't jab. And I proved it in sparring and we proved it in the fight. And the only way Tommy wins a fight is to get behind his jab. Same as Tyson Fury. He didn't get behind his jab. He didn't, arguably didn't win that fight. I'm not saying that there's a hack. I'm just saying someone like Tommy Fury's had 10 fights and his brothers had, let's say, 35 pro fights and maybe, let's say, 50 amateurs. We have 100 a year. I have hundreds of amateur fights a year. I'm very good at combat, and I'm not being arrogant. I have the experience to be confident in my job. So it's not that I know more. I just know a lot, and I've had the experience to know what works and what doesn't. So I've been proved right and wrong loads of times, and I correct myself as well. Like I'm not arrogant. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. But I feel like I didn't get it wrong, and I feel like I knew how to stop that jab, and JJ just followed the plan perfectly, and that's why that jab didn't happen. But with Jake Paul, it's a very different kind of fight, right?
Would you say the Jake Paul fight is tougher than the Tommy Fury fight in the actual, not the training wise, but in the actual fight?
No, not really. I think Jake's got attributes but he doesn't have as many attributes as Tommy. I think Tommy has power in both hands. I think Tommy had, really good rangefinder of a jab, and I also think that his chin is in a safer spot in a lot of ways. With Jake, there are things that he exposes, but there are other elements he does really well with as well, and he's got a good team with him. So I'm sure they'll be adjusting for us as well. But no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say we fought a stylistic specific way for Tommy.
Yeah.
So it won't be that kind of fight.
Well, I'm going off to America in December for Jake's fight. He's fighting a pro boxer. Probably like a 10-1 boxer sort of vibe. So it won't be like some sort of influencer MMA fighter. And so if we're being dead honest here, you reckon that KSI and Jake will happen summertime next year?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
Yeah.
I would if it's going to happen, it would be then, right? Unless there are fights in between that get arranged, and that's something that you probably have to speak to Mams about, his management. If fights are arranged, if somehow there's a McGregor fight or there's a Mayweather or something, there's a huge fight that they arrange, then that's going to take precedent. Then fair enough.
Would you, as a coach, like KSI to have one more fight before going in there with Jake, or would you happy just him to fight him now?
No, I'd be happy now. There'd be no. Yeah, there's no. I think you've got Tommy's a better boxer, and the guys we've sparred and they're in training camps and we've had fights with, they're all better boxers. The thing about Jake, like you said, it's the event, right? Mm-hmm. It's an enormous event, and there's a lot of egos. But I think from a technical boxing perspective, I don't think that we're out of any league. I don't think we have to adjust much. I think we have to have a good game plan, spar the shit out of it, and follow it. And that's what I think it is. But I think that there's a lot more avenues to get a knockout with Jake than there is with guys that are a lot more cagey. Mm-hmm. I think guys like Tommy, who was pressing the fight, you have to time him and get him, Whereas with Jake, if he wants to hang back, I think he's going to get it. And if he comes forward, he's definitely not going to come forward as safe as Tommy did.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know. I think it's a fun fight. Don't get me wrong. There's loads of things that I could tell you loads of things that Tommy does really well, and and his team prepare for. That's something that I definitely don't. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying I see openings like I'm sure they will see openings. Mm-hmm. So it should be fun.
Hopefully next summer will be the date. KSI can have a month. Obviously, very busy schedule is very, very busy. He's in America doing the prime stuff and back to the Sidemen. Yeah. Open up new restaurants. Do you eat free at sides?
I'm sure I could if I wanted to, but no, I don't even have the time for any of it. No, but yeah, no, I don't do any of that.
Yeah, you eat free at sides, or someone will get fired if you don't. So yeah, I reckon he'll have a month off and then back in the gym. And then it'll be the time for the Jake Paul fight. Do you think, will KSI be going to York Hall, do you reckon? The Misfits 011?
Yeah,
Sports teammate Arms here.
Yeah, he's got his teammates fighting, so I would say there'd be no reason why he wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think Arms is going to have a great fight with Minicon.
That's my favourite fight.
It's going to be a good fight, because Minicon's a good kid. Like, he can box.
He knows how, he's got a shape well, he holds it well.
Box. He's definitely been in the gym.
He's had more fights than Arms as well, a lot more experienced in terms of boxing fights.
Agree, and he's been in the gym a long time as well, so he's definitely getting better. But I think it's a fun fight. It should show Arms improved a lot, and it should show levels to his improvement, and also I think because they're familiar with each other, it will bring out a good fight. Sometimes like you finish one fight and it's almost like the start of the next. Like it's round 5, round 6, round 7. Not going to be back to a normal fight again. You just continue from where you left off when they were throwing last time. So
certainly, Arms is he's one of the biggest fighters of the Misfits now in terms of the kind of number and the draw, this kind of star power he has. I never knew he was such a good artist as well. Did you know?
I did.
How good at drawing he is.
I made him draw some pictures.
He's like the person you would never expect for it whatsoever. Just how big he is. Just one last thing then. You were on the lead up to this fight. I think a few days before the Summer Charity match, you trained with Speed. Very well known. What was that like?
Yeah, he's a really cool kid. He's a good kid. I think he live streamed it, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was lots of footage. I think
so you were doing your sprints around the park.
Yeah, we did a track session. I think he tried to jump in on one, which was crazy because he was not going to be able to do them, so he didn't. But he's a very funny kid, good kid. And for 100 meters, he's got a sprint on him.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's called Speed, I guess. But yeah, he's a good kid. I think interesting. I don't know whether or not he would fight. I think he would because he's crazy enough to do it. But I don't know who or what. But yeah, he's a very nice kid.
Did you only do one session of you guys?
Yeah, he only did one session, but it was a hard session to jump in on. Yeah, it was like a track day, which is like after that session you're finished.
What's involved in a track day?
Well, it depends how many rounds you're fighting. So let's say you've got a guy who's fighting 10 rounds or 12 rounds, you would maybe do like blocks of 400 meters, like 400 meter sprint, 45-second recoveries, again for the same amount of rounds. So you kind of equivalent how many, as an example, Olympic level boxing in a 22-foot ring, they would cover 400 meters per round on a bounce. So you'd try and equivalent that bounce into sprinting.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so that's how, so you've got to try and keep it kind of scientific with the way you're approaching with the endurance part of it. You know, so that's kind of what we'll do. But yeah, it depends on the style of fight. So sometimes with JJ, you have short shuttle sprints as well, because he's a very aggressive fighter. So they simulate his level of attacks. How many attacks is he going to do per round? How many sprints do you do per round? What's the recovery in between the time? There is a method to it. There's a magic to it.
There's a method to the madness.
There is. It looks like there isn't. It looks like he just, he jumped flying in and maybe hitting someone and maybe not. But no, for that fight, there was a big method to it. And I thought, regardless of what people say, I think when they think about it, a guy beat a Fury, who comes from a YouTube background, which is insane. It's not a guy that's from a UFC, who's already a combat champion, who's already got one of the hardest punches in history, right? Who's already got attributes, and who's already like strong and can wrestle. You know what I mean? It was just a random guy that trained and won a fight. I think there's a lot to be said for that, which I think that his true fans, which it's weird because you do get that mix. So we get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls thanking us.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's quite nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing because obviously they care for JJ, so they cared that he was safe and did a good job, which is amazing. And then you get the whole critique from the boxing community. Oh, actually, that YouTube is not that bad. And then you get someone saying, "Oh, Tommy was shit." I'm like, yeah, well, listen. When you get a great guy like Tyson Fury and he has a bad night in the office, did he have a bad night or did the other guy make him have a bad night in the office? I think there's got to be a bit of both. I think he did have a bad night in the office, but I also think Ngannou did his job. I think his team did his job and they did their research. How he went southpaw, how he stayed there, how he looked for a drop hook on the counter. Yeah. These things were trained. So there's got to be some. That was well done. That was a good game plan. He did a great job and he won that fight.
Just a couple more things before I let you go here. I know it's been a long one. I'm sure that people do love it. The Brazil card is happening next year, around February, March sort of time. Everyone's guessing. Yeah. Do you think Dean the Great obviously can't fight Jose Aldo now because of his arm injury and his hand injury? But do you think he'd beat Jose Aldo in a boxing fight? Dean the Great?
Yeah, I like Dean. Yeah. I like Dean. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think he likes to fight. And his natural attribute, the way he shifted his head, the way he switched southpaw when he hurt his hand, he's got a natural fight in him. There's not one part of him. A lot of guys get a broken hand or just look at a shoulder and they're looking for a way out. My shoulder, I want to look for a way out. And he was like, if that kid had, if that kid's arm fell off, he would have picked it up and hit the kid with the arm. Like he's a tough kid. He's a fighter. So yeah, I think he would. I've actually got a lot of. I like Dean. I've got a lot of respect for him. And I think that if he pursues this, I think he can take it quite a long way.
Yeah. You could fight Jose Aldo then in Brazil.
I'm not sure. I mean, Aldo's a good guy though. He's not. I know he's a bit past it, as in from the UFC. But when you take away the attributes of wrestling and kicking and jiu-jitsu, and then you only leave yourself one thing to train, you get less injuries and you feel young again. Yeah. 'Cause I do it myself. Like I used to wrestle and do jiu-jitsu, and now I pick one thing at a time. So like 1 month I'll do jiu-jitsu, 1 month I'll wrestle, 1 month I'll box, and I feel so much better and fitter. But putting it all together, it's a rough. When you get older, it's rough to put it all together and feel good from it. So I think that you might be surprised with how good he might be at just boxing. But it's at 135, right, pounds? Yeah.
I'll box Jose Aldo. I'll go in there, box it, jab his head off, catch that left hook.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic. You'd do it as well, though, right?
Yeah, I'll box him.
Listen, honestly, people don't realise you can box. People forget. They don't realise you amateur pedigree. So I think you training, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think you should do it, and I think everyone wants to see it.
Mr. Jose Aldo, tell Mams, everyone message Mams that.
As long as you come train down here and get some rounds of sparring in, it'll be my pleasure. It'll be good. It'll be good to do. But I think Mams would love it. Yeah. Mams would love it. Listen, I'll phone him in a minute. We'll do it on FaceTime. We'll do it in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think realistically, I think for someone like Jose Aldo, he probably wants a warm-up fight as well, because I think I don't know.
Go straight in there with Dean, I don't think.
I don't think so. And then also, it's about introducing Jose Aldo to the audience that you guys have created as well. It's not a boxing audience. Yeah, it's not a boxing audience. There's some great boxers that want to come into Misfits, and we're like, yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to know who you are. We know who you are, but I don't think anyone else is going to know who you are.
That's true.
So I don't know.
We'll see. Anyway, Alexis, thank you very much, mate.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.